Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Sylvaine, Er Framand, out March 22nd on Season of Mist. The EP has 6 songs, 28 minutes in long, and it's their second EP. They are a Norwegian atmospheric post-metal band. Now this EP has a little bit of a theme, a little bit of a concept. It's all about Norwegian folk and Norwegian folk themes and folk stories. And that explains the more shamanic style approach that the record offers. More than the music, it's really about the vocal performance and the storytelling that comes with it. If there's ever been a record where the vocals really showcase themselves more than just transmitting the lyrical content, but rather more so as an instrument, is this one. It comes across clearly as you could imagine. This is a record where the vocal performance is an instrument within itself of atmosphere, of sound, of essence, of experience, and obviously of storytelling. Now let's talk about these 6 songs, and I apologize for butchering the names of the tracks. I'm 2% Norwegian according to Ancestry DNA, but not fluent. So bear with me, starting off with Dagsens, Auga, Sloknar ut. The vocals on this track really tell a story, and they don't just tell a story, but they carry the emotions of their story through it. It's a very warm track, specifically coming from the keys. The sound of the keys really allows the track to have this underbelly of warm sound that allows the vocals then to have a little bit more movement, a little bit more energy, a little bit more ebbs and flows, that allows the track to have this fluidity, because the sound itself is very balanced, is very stagnant, is very linear. The vocals are the ones changing your perception of the track, changing your perception of the song, and the way they come about also infusing elements of coldness and elements of warmth. It's a very bipolar track when it comes to the vocal performance, because it's not always grounded. Sometimes you feel how cold and how distant the vocals sound and the emotion that it portrays, and sometimes it feels a little bit more welcoming, a little bit warmer. It's a great track because at the end of the song, the sound no longer becomes linear, no longer becomes balanced. It rather starts to grow, almost blossoming. Imagining a flower finding its way, its growth, and then finally blossoming. This track has a little bit like that, sound-wise, more so than vocally. Vocally is very dynamic from the get-go. Next we have Arvestykker, a more textured and layered song vocally. This track really uses depth and texture as far as the vocals are concerned to create a different style of storytelling, because it has a little bit more presence in terms of not just being focused on one single delivery, but rather having a sense of more substance around the vocals, which allows the song to have movement, not just up and down, but actually more lateral. The song has more of a sense of breathing. There's a sense of a heartbeat, of breathing to it, and the vocals are definitely the one that showcase that. And it's a track that also has quite a bit of duality to it, because the vocals on this track don't just work as a storytelling aspect, they don't just work in terms of giving texture and giving substance, they also work as a pure instrument of sound. So that duality and the ability to use a vocal performance to 2 different ends allow this song to really showcase everything that this record is all about. The way you use your voice and your vocal performance to tell an emotional story, or in this case 6 emotional stories, and at the same time using that same vocal performance with that same emotion to really put together an instrument of atmosphere and presence. This track is the climax of the overall record of what this EP has in store for the listener. The next song on this EP is Veit, Himmelrik, Borg. Now, this is a more dark sounding song. It's a track that has an atmosphere that's really set by the sound. And that sound has an underbelly of darkness to it. Feels a little bit more somber. It feels, like I said, a little bit more, I wouldn't go as far as to call it sinister, but definitely darker. And the vocals walk across that blanket of darkness extremely well. And that darkness also allows the sound to be a little bit more richer. It's a more richer sounding song musically. It doesn't feel as balanced. It doesn't feel as linear. It doesn't feel like the sound is setting the atmosphere or the backdrop in which the vocals then obviously can then expend everything that they have to offer. On this track, the sound actually plays a bigger role in the overall essence of the song itself. It still has great textures, but they're very easy to digest, very easy to appreciate. There's a lot of layers to the vocals, but overall is a more sonically impactful song from start to end. The next track on this EP is Livets Dans, and this track also has a little bit of somberness, but it's presented in a different way. The keys on this song are the ones creating a little bit of that somber mood that the track has, and then that allows the vocals to move through it and offer a sense of depth and atmosphere at the exact same time. But the key sound is really subtle, and the impact that it has is also subtle, allowing the vocals to move into the forefront and really becoming the element that emphasizes everything that this song is all about. So it's a track that has elements of previous songs, but perhaps the recipe changed a little bit, even though the ingredients are quite the same. The next track on the list is Tussmørke. Very magical song. This song has this great brightness, probably one of the brighter sounding, not probably, it is the brightest sounding song on this entire record. There's no other track on this EP that offers this sense of sun coming in, this sense of life. This song has a lot of life in it, and it feels really bright within that life, and specifically coming after two songs that have a slightly dark underbelly, it becomes even more noticeable, the overall brightness of this song. This allows the track to levitate, it allows the track to lift off, if you will, because it becomes very thin. Not that the other songs are thick, but this one, because of its brightness, it rises to the top a little bit quicker. It's a little bit more noticeable, and then the vocals have a haunting delivery that works really well with that sense of brightness that the track has. Together they weave an incredible tapestry, a tapestry that you cannot separate. The sound, the vocal performance, the brightness, and the light that it brings forward is intertwined between these two elements, and they really feed off of one another, giving the record a very unique and different song from all of the others. Last but definitely not least, the title track, Er Framand. And now this song, I translated, I was interested to know what the title of this EP was about, so I went on Google Translate and I found out that it means I am a foreigner. And it's an interesting aspect, because if you know the main figure behind the band, Sylvaine, you'll realize that she was born outside of Norway, but her mother is of Norwegian descent, and she moved to Norway when she was really young. So I wonder if there is a sense of feeling like a foreigner in your own homeland. I don't have that experience, but as someone who's left their country at a very young age, or at least what I consider a young age, when I moved back to my old country, if you will, I have that same feeling of being a foreigner. I no longer feel like I belong there. I feel really strange. I don't feel like that's my country anymore. So I can relate with the title. I can relate with that sort of feeling of not belonging. It could have a different meaning to different people depending on what your take is on being a foreigner. You could be in your own home country, in your own homeland, surrounded by people you know, and still feel like a foreigner because your ideas and the way you perceive the world are perhaps a little bit different from those around you. So there's a lot of different interpretations to this track, and I think, or to the name of the track at least, and I think it's a beautiful thing when it comes to an album that it's really left, specifically for those that don't speak Norwegian, this album is really left to your own emotions and to your own interpretations. And this song and this title really allowed me to kind of make the song and the overall essence of this record a little bit more of my own experience. And I think that's an important aspect of music. It's not just telling a story, but it's how you tell that story in terms of connecting to the people who are listening and allow that story to kind of become a little bit part of their own story. So I really enjoyed the experience of listening to this EP, and then closing off with this track I thought was really interesting because it had a little bit of this sound of the sea in the background. And for me personally, the sound of the sea is something that reminds me of back home, the place that I was born. So there's a little bit of a notion that divides where I lived from where I used to live. So having that title to the song, having that sound in the background, made this song, like I said, a lot more personal for me. And it was a perfect end and a perfect conclusion to such a personal experience, which is exactly what this EP offers. It's a great closing track. It has this feeling of arrival, if you will. There's a sense of you reach your destination, the way this song comes across in the sound and in the overall vocal performance. It's a very emotional vocal performance, perhaps one of the most emotional vocal performances of the entire EP. And it really leaves a lot to the imagination of the listener. It's more about how you feel when you're experiencing song, more so than trying to understand exactly what the song is trying to give you. So it was a perfect conclusion to the record because it encapsulated everything that I felt. It encapsulated all the emotions that I experienced across 6 songs in 28 minutes. It's an outstanding EP. It's a lot more atmospheric than their previous record, Nova, even though that one had a lot of atmosphere to it, but this one stands on its own. It's a lot less musical. It's a lot more vocally driven. The instruments, or the main instrument on this album is definitely the vocals. And when you have a record like this that's very stripped down, that's very folky, not necessarily from an instrument base, but rather from the topics and the lyrical content, you're able to create something unique, something different, something outside the box, even coming from a band that is unique, different, and outside the box already as it is. So I really enjoy this experience. I really enjoy this journey, and it was one that had me captivated to it from the first second to the last. This is it, Sylvaine with Er Framand, out March 22nd on Season of Mist. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.